Hi there. So if you're watching this, it's probably because I asked you to, as a mentee or as a mentor. I've been often asked to look at resumes. And resumes, believe it or not, are quite simple in terms of what you need to do. But given that I've done it so many times, I thought I'd just record it and just save myself the trouble of having to go through this another thousand times. The game for resume writing has changed drastically since 10 years ago. Obviously, the introduction of ATS, and no doubt that'll change as AI becomes more prevalent than machine learning. But also the fact that there's so many designers out there right now, and we just have to be really good about writing resumes. So the goal of this video is really to build a resume that gets you to get recruiter callbacks. So we call that top of funnel, top of funnel. And the average, and I'll cite the sources if you want for you. But the collection I did was between 2% to 10% callback. So if you had 100 resumes that you were submitting, you should be getting a callback about two of those, or 2 to 10 of those. So that's where we want to be. If you're not getting that, that might be a good reason to kind of look at your resume and your portfolio. But for now, I'll walk you through what it is in my findings as a strategist and researcher, going out and finding what has changed about the game so much. So a little bit about who I am, just so you know that I'm not some doofus that's just coming up with stuff. I've been a designer for 18 years now. In 9 of those years, I've been in people management, design management, or in product. And I'm also unique in the sense that I'm a designer, strong design background with technical design, so everything from coding and animation, everything from mobile to desktop, as well as kiosks, a tablet. I also have an MBA, so I went midway through my career, realized I wanted to understand the business side more, and went to get my master's in business. So hence why I talk about things like this is making a connection between the business with either the designer or with the user. So moving on. Sources, everything, all the citation and sources for this, I will include or try to include somewhere. I'm not sure where this is going to go, whether it's going to be on YouTube or I'm just going to put it on Loom for you to consume. But I will have the citation somewhere available. If not, you could always ask me where I found this data as well. All right, so the theme for this, and this is important to go over. Because you're going to find a lot of information out there in the wild. There's a ton of it. I think that's very different for us when we were starting our careers in design, was that there wasn't enough information. We didn't have access to stuff. And now that there's access to everything, the problem now is that there isn't so much crap out there. Years ago, I got this really great advice from a friend who was doing he was on a health kick. He was bodybuilding, eating right, and he went from looking like a scrawny dude to like a superhero. And I asked, hey, how do you know what information is correct? There's so much of it out there. Some say you have to eat more carbs, or some say you have to have a calorie deficit, and some say don't do that, and some people say fast, and some people say eat more often. So how do you know what's correct and what's not correct? Those are bad examples, by the way, but and he says something really simple, and it makes sense to me to this day. Everything that I do when I consume in terms of information makes so much sense. He said, if it doesn't make sense, then it's probably bullshit. And that was fantastic. It's obvious. It's kind of an obvious statement, but like really, if you think about it, everything that you do should make sense to you. Otherwise, why are you doing it? And if you've been writing your resume and putting your portfolio together just because someone told you that's the way it's supposed to be done, don't do that anymore. I think everything you do, you should begin to start questioning it. Your role as a designer is to doubt things. Anyway, so that's kind of the idea here. So I'll go through the logic of all of this and why I'm calling it resume logic, besides the point that that's a really boring title. It's kind of why that's the theme for a lot of this. Oh, and Goodest Design Club is just a thing I'm starting with a bunch of other kind of hiring managers. I figure there's a lot of folks out there trying to get feedback on their portfolio and resumes, and you guys keep on going to each other for peer reviews. It's really problematic because if you're doing user testing, you shouldn't be going to other designers. You should be going to your audience. And in this case, it would be hiring managers. So I'm creating a club where it'll be a bunch of hiring managers where you can begin to ask them to get feedback. And it'll be asynchronous. So you're getting video, just like user testing does, from multiple sources, and begin to see the patterns. So 5 or 6 of them is when you begin to see a lot of like the patterns there. So that's what that service is, and I'm making this part of that. All right, so getting right into it. As you're going into your resume, you're probably having trouble finding examples. So I'm going to use my old resume as an example here. You'll notice in here I've got like skills and tools on the right. Kind of formatting looks familiar. You've probably seen it before. I've got some sort of like information up on the top and a bio. A couple of different backgrounds in history, education, so on and so forth. The bullet points are doing the best that I can to write out what I did that was wonderful. And this is, at first glance, probably seems like it's fine to you. And I'm going to tell you why, for many reasons, that this is incorrect in a second. So, there's a couple of parts in here that we're going to go over. Again, I'll put some of these citations somewhere, but the first part is really going to go about the formatting. The second is to find out what bullets should I be putting in there. And then third is, after you've gotten a baseline of what your resume should be, is to, when you are applying for specific target jobs, how do you take what your baseline is, your core body, if you will, of your resume, and just tweak it just enough so that it is specific to that job listing without having to like lose your mind over it and do like tons and hours of work. So that's what this is going to go over. I've pulled in a lot of ideas from smarter people than me who have done a lot more research. A lot of them are recruiters. Some of them are designers who are recruiters. Some of it is the standards that have been made through companies like Google. And speaking of which, let's go right into it. So like Google does a really good job of kind of explaining how resumes should be. And they're not saying that this should be done standardized across the entire industry. They're just setting the standard. They're for themselves. And I think they're really great at doing this kind of thing. They're known for their taxonomy because, and architecture because they're the search engine guys. So things like, you don't need an objective and bio at the top. You don't make sure that it's a PDF. Use black and white. Make sure that you're editing it to be a single page, things like that. Make sure there's no typos. One of the most important things here, though, that you'll notice when you talk to recruiters is something that kind of blew me away as a designer, always working hard to make sure that my resume was beautiful and shockingly beautiful and blows everyone away, is that's not the job of a resume. If you think about it, who is this for? Always when in strategy, you have to be considering, and in design rather, you have to be thinking about who is this for, what's the purpose of this, and the primary purpose of a resume. It has many secondary purposes, but the primary purpose is to get the recruiter to be able to get through it very quickly and check off all the things that the hiring manager has asked them to make sure that they screen for. So if that's the case, the job of the resume is not to be shockingly beautiful or aesthetically beautiful and blow them away at how amazing it is. It is to get the information that's needed that they are looking for to them as fast and efficiently as possible. That being the case, a lot of these things, bullets here, start to make sense. Why should it be done this way? So anytime you're going crazy with colors and layouts and stuff like that, don't spend as much time as you are on there because and I'll get to that in a second. The main kind of money shot for the Google stuff here is what they call the XYZ formula, and this is really, really important. Is when you get into the bullet points, and we'll come back to this because this is probably the most important thing here. Is It's not just about dictating what your accomplishments are. It's also giving context to those accomplishments, right? So the XYZ in this case is referred to as what you accomplished, how you measured it, and what did you do to get there. That's the XYZ. So there's some examples here is provided by Google. I like to use like a little bit more looser analogy. So like if I have a metaphor for you, my bullet point here is that I built a lemonade business with my friends. And instead of saying I built a lemonade business with my friends, something like I founded a local lemonade business, averaging 300 plus customers a week by strategic placements of booths near local fitness businesses. So it goes, the X is I founded a local business and accomplished and measured it by how many customers I had per week, which was 300 plus. And then how I went about doing it is by strategically placing booths right next to local fitness businesses in town. So keep it simple, and I'll tell you how you can really keep this concise in a little bit. But this is really important, so let's come back to this. The other thing is, and I got this from this guy named Jerry Lee. A lot of you guys have probably heard him. He's kind of blowing up all over the place on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Really, really great marketer as well as a recruiting guy. And the advice that he gives oftentimes is really on point. So I've learned a lot from him. One of the things that he talks about is this formatting and readability, scannability a lot. And I think that's really smart. And as a designer, we're really good at this kind of thing, but for some reason we're not great at it with resumes, from the resumes I've seen. So there's a piece of dust floating around. Checking stuff out. I think one of the big things here you'll notice is like, wow, you might look at this and you're like, this is pretty ugly. Again, that's not what it's about, right? So, he uses a single column layout for a very specific reason. The first being this format is very much optimized for ATS. And if you've had trouble with a PDF going into ATS systems, and if you don't know what ATS is, look it up because that's really important. It's what is used for almost every candidate management system uses ATS right now, which is machine learning where it pre-screens based on the phrases and keywords in there, and also is the thing that helps you pre-populate your applications when you put a resume up there. And ATS reads it in a certain way and certain data. And you might have had a lot of trouble in the past. If it's not in a specific format as a PDF, it might bring in the wrong information. And it's frustrating because you have to manually retype that stuff in there. So make sure that you're following this for ATS optimization. The second reason is because recruiters read in the F format. So when you say F, they go down the left side, and as they read through this, they see keywords, they read to the right of it, and they absorb in that manner. Scan to the left, see a keyword, read that statement to the right, come back, scan to the left. So that F format's really important, and the single column layout is crucial for that. He also has a big statement that people are scanning and not reading. And to prove that point, he did a wonderful experiment. Not just him, but other people have done some similar things where they have created these fake resumes, and put some really inappropriate things in the bullet points and peppered throughout the resume to test and show that people are only looking for what they're looking for, those specific bullet points. And so this is a screenshot of his stuff. He named the resume. The name of the person is Kiss My Nuts, which is a perfect, very obvious indication that this is not a real person. And really kind of made this inappropriate bullet points throughout the resume. And he sent it out to 100 people, 100 job listings, and he got 29% of a callback, which is unheard of. 30% is nuts. That's crazy. So just to prove the point. So there's something to be said there. So the next obvious question, now that we know what format it needs to be, and what kind of bullet points and how do we write our bullet points. The next obvious question should be, what bullet points should I put in here? And I think a lot of people in the past, as I was kind of going through my career, has told me, hey, you should put in the stuff that you're really proud of. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That makes no sense at all. What do we say about strategy? You have to think about who the audience is and what their needs are. So, well, then you might be saying, well, Josh, how the heck do I find out what these businesses or hiring managers actually want? That's really tough. They don't give us any feedback. Well, in also strategy, one of the things that you learn to do is to use what's available. So efficiency of information. Yeah, we don't have that information because we can't see into the mind of what's going on in those business. But there's one thing that is available to you out there, or a couple things, websites, right, like stuff like that. But the most obvious thing, I would say, are job listings. So if you've got target job listings in the industry that you want to get into, one of the things you might want to do is begin to collect as many of those as you can, right? And I'll tell you why in a second. So for example, I brought in these job listings for everything from director of product design and UX to senior director to vice president, VP of product design. These are kind of the level that I'm looking at, and they give you clues. I know a lot of folks might say, "Hey." Don't all these folks just kind of copy and paste from each other? Yeah, to a certain extent. But if you knew how risky it is to hire someone, these guys there is a healthy fear when you're a hiring manager of hiring the wrong person because to terminate that person if they were the wrong person is very, very difficult. So you want to make sure that you are getting the right people. And everybody I know, including myself, has spent significant time getting the words and the bullet points in a job listing correctly. So yes, there are some folks out there that just copy and paste stuff, but maybe as a template or a guide. But in the end, I do believe people spend a significant amount of time making sure that it has the right information. Also, if you really need a specific skill, you'll put that in the JD. So like, these are good clues, good places to find clues about what are the pain points of this team. And so you can kind of see some of this as I did this exercise with other people. I went in there and started highlighting keywords in there. So maybe I'll do that with you guys here. So like, so let's take a look at this one. We're seeking a dynamic and experienced leader in product design to lead our design team. Drive the vision, vision and strategy and execution. So vision planning and strategy and execution of our product design initiatives. Strategic thinking with a strong background, user-centered design. You might be like, okay, this is really obvious. I'll tell you, this is pretty specific. Some places are not user-centric, or they'll be specifically asking for someone who has experience being able to evangelize this in an organization, which means that the company really needs someone to be a spokesperson for this. Passion for innovation. Okay, this is also important because innovation means it's not going to be all about just doing tech debt and optimizations. There's going to be frontier work that needs to be done here. And a proven track record of delivering exceptionally. Okay, so background history of doing it before. Let's do this. Yeah. Okay. So even before we got to the bullet points, we've already kind of uncovered a couple of things here. And so as you get into look at this, design evangelism. Funny enough, that came up. So it's not just about mere communication. This means that this company needs some sort of a person or a business unit that will guide the rest of the organization towards kind of a more user-driven decision making, or actually having the user's input at the table. And here it says specifically with executives. So executive management or executive workshopping and stuff like that. Coaching, good. So mentorships, skills, and leadership experience. Okay. Actually, we don't need to do that. That might be gratuitous. Budget and resourcing. So this is interesting. This is something that doesn't appear at like in every level, but budget and resourcing. Someone to be able to take care of and owning the purse, including compensation planning, non-headcount budget allocation, and trade-offs. Cool. Cross-product collaboration. This is important. Cross-product. So cross discipline across the company, having collaborative, being able to collaborate with your partners across the company. Integrating process and advocating process changes that between product management, engineering, and product design. Yep. So we could go down this, and basically what you're going to do is you begin to see what is really important to this company. But you're not doing this for an individual company. You're doing this across multiple ones. So as you do this across a lot of them, I would say try to do more than 10. You begin to see patterns in there. And why are you doing it this way? Because you're trying to create a baseline core resume that resonates with all businesses first. That's what this process is going to be. You're setting the core so that you can get as close to what the industry is looking for, not a specific company. And so what you should start to do is do this exercise, and you'll see certain topics begin to emerge. And some topics appear constantly, like almost in every single one, and you'll see those appear at the top. And then now you've got a stack rank of things. And what you could also look at is your old resume and be like, okay, am I these top 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 ones? Am I talking about these in my resume? And for me, I was like, wow, I'm not talking about these at all in my resume or in my portfolio. So it's really important that you take a look at this, because it'll give you a very broad look at your industry and what the needs are. And some of them so prevalent to the point that every single one is talking about it, because that's what's needed. And maybe it's rare. One little tip here, do not use ChatGPT to do this exercise. Just a funny excerpt I found online of someone arguing with ChatGPT about how many R's there are in the word strawberry. ChatGPT cannot count. It does a good job of synthesizing and spitting out qualitative data. It does a good job of proofreading for you and stuff like that, but it can't count. And so this is something also that is highly nuanced, because certain words are trying to say something implicitly, and you have to have more than a couple of brain cells to realize what it's talking about. So this is also going to give you an intimate understanding of how to look at and parse job listings as well. So don't deprive yourself of giving this to ChatGPT to do this work yourself. All right. So now, once you have this, now you have at least a good list of things to say, okay, I at least know what the industry is looking for. If we had more information, that would be great, but this is what we have. And so you take this and take a first shot. After all this stuff we found out here, how to write the XYZ bullets, what the formatting is, and what topics that our target audience is looking for. Now we can kind of create our first draft of a resume. And by the way, if you don't have metrics to put in here, measurement is not always done in metrics. Sometimes you can do it with qualifiers. For example, a qualifier might be, hey, I was budgeted to do this project in 5 months, but I completed it in 3. Or I successfully completed this project. That's not a metric, but it's a qualifier. It says that you did something, and is absolutely a measurement of how well you did. So it doesn't always have to do that. So all it takes is just a moment to think about what makes it special and drives it home that this was something that is worth merit. So here's an example, after all that work, of putting together kind of the most important key bullets for the jobs I did here. So like, for example, I'll give you an example here. Led customer-focused collaboration, customer focus, already one of the main bullet points, meaning that it is using customer data rather than just doing it from a whim or from what business needs were. Collaboration between product, CX, and marketing engineering. Cross-company collaboration, so that's 2. Increase online experience by 8.8 average super Q, right? So this is, this is just from just improving projects. Implementing a research dashboard, that's another bullet that came out, so that's 3. On Qualtrics, to identify opportunities on the roadmap. So roadmap was 4. That was another big one on the top 10 stuff. So already, if I've already did 4 or 5 major topics in this first bullet, and I do the same throughout the whole thing. The only problem with this is that it reads kind of funny, and I was like, man, I can't write this very well. This is where you can bring in something like ChatGPT or another person. I put it into ChatGPT. I taught it what XYZ, Google's XYZ method is, and I said, hey, XYZ method is this. Take what I've written and in the same format of XYZ, can you do it in a more concise and cleaned up manner? And this is what it spit out for me. Enhance online customer experience by 8%, average super Q quarter to quarter by leading a collaboration between product, CX, and marketing and engineering, and implementing a research dashboard on Qualtrics to identify roadmap opportunities. Boom, way easier, smoother. It's the same length, but it's much easier to digest, in my opinion. I think it does a great job of doing that. I've also taken off a lot of the other companies. I've only done the past 5 years. I think for a lot of you guys, if you've got more than 5 years of experience, you don't have to put your entire thing. That's what a CV is. We are making resumes, not CVs. CVs are more for folks in Europe and in other countries. In the US, we stick to doing resumes. Again, also only limiting my education to the 2 most relevant for now. And you could always talk about other education and leave that in your LinkedIn if you want to. Funny enough, with my skills, I used to have like all these skills like this, but if you do this the right way, you begin to fill out a lot of the skill keywords in these bullet points. And so it reduced it down drastically to only a handful. And this is where you kind of, I would say, I'm calling this the raw resume, meaning, I'm not raw, the baseline resume. So your core resume of where you start from. This is your template. Now that it kind of sort of matches 30 to 40% of what's out in the market. So any given time I go, any job listing I find, this will match keywords wise 20 to 30% already. Right? So that's where you have. Okay, so how do I know that? The next step here is now to look at how do you tweak this in the right way. So I mentioned ATS before. There's a lot of tools out there that do this well. I know a lot of folks are using ChatGPT to do this. ChatGPT is not the same. It's actually way more advanced as AI, and ATS is machine learning. So it doesn't use the same algorithms, unfortunately, and won't be able to tell you how to do it correctly. So I would check out something like JobScan. And what's really cool about this is, I'll show you. You can put in your own resume into here. So you just drag and drop that PDF. It reads it, and then you put in the target job description. You could already see in here I had a Mozilla job in here. And once you press scan, it'll tell you what the match rate of it is. And like I said before, it's about 20 to 30%, sometimes 40%. This is actually a higher percentage already just to start with. And it'll go, as you go through it, you'll see where you're missing, what like words are you missing on matching, right? And hopefully it's not too many, but you're trying to get it to about 70 to 75%. So if you take a look at my scan history, let's look at one where I had like a 70%er. And that really was just taking this and going through here and making sure I can fill out all the kind of stuff that is relevant. And some of this stuff, Uh, I was like, okay, this is close enough. Some of these are like, I have the word quantitative skill or quantitative data in there. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much. Should I change it to skills? You could, if you really want to get it up there. And that's the game here, is to basically take your baseline resume and for each role, cater it to be a little bit more closer to what the target is. And I don't do this for every single job I do, but for the ones that are really hard hitting that I think I would be great for, that excite me, I do take the time to do this. So you can see in my document, once I get into more details, there's different versions of them, including changing the title or role names up on top. And that's about it. This is kind of the game that'll get you to a closer result, is looking for what they're looking for. Find out what they're saying and then apply that to your resume writing, instead of doing it in a vacuum or doing your own, what compels you. Those are great, but for getting the attention of a recruiter, this is kind of what you want to do. And again, this isn't all me. I've pulled this from other very smart people, kind of compiling it together, and it seems to be the way it works. There's other things that, of course, as well, that are important, like portfolio and your LinkedIn page. Those things do matter. I'll try to post more of that kind of stuff soon too. But yeah, if you have any questions, reach out to me. Yeah, cool. Thank you.